Hi, I'm Tash. Welcome to Tash's Library. Today's video is going to be my November TBR. I have no idea where the rest of the year's gone, but it is almost November and another TBR must be made. So without further ado, let's go to my TBR game, which is my funnest thing to do each month. And this is the board of my TBR game. Basically, I'm going to start playing with my trusty little Lego Eeyore as usual. I'm going to be throwing 2 die, and if I throw a double, that adds an extra roll. And then depending on where I land, I have to pull a corresponding prompt card. So I have blue is genres, settings, and tropes. Red is titles and prose. Green is covers and formats, gold is stats and authors, and silver is It's So Random. I'm going to go with 8 rolls. It's probably a bit optimistic because November is a really busy month, but you know what? I'm just going to see what I do and it will give me some good options. Even if I don't get to all the books, I'll have a good array of books to choose from. So first roll is an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's titles and prose. And so I'm just going to shuffle these up and just take a random one. Name in the title. So that means it's got to have a person's name in the title. I think I can think of a few options for that. So let me see what I can get. For name in the title, I get to bring a series up to date, which is what I really want. I'm going to go with Amari and the Great Game by B.B. Alston. I absolutely loved the first Amari and the Night Brothers. It's about this young girl who goes to a magical school. Middle grade, beautiful, fun characters, fun animal companions, great plots, great easy writing. It's just such a joy to read and I cannot wait to continue this book. Roll number 2 is a 2. 1, 2, and that's gold. So that's stats and authors. And I just take this one here. Gathering Dust. Interesting. So that means I have to pick a book that has been on my TBR for a very long time or on my bookshelves for a very long time and hasn't been read yet. This will be good to get rid of some of my backlog. But I do need to add an extra roll. Gathering Dust. Excellent, because I do want to try and get some of my TBR vets. They have been sitting on my shelf for ages. And for this one, I'm going to continue yet another series. And this is the Sword of Shannara trilogy. And I'm going to read the Elfstones of Shannara, which is the second book in the trilogy. Now, the Sword of Shannara pretty much follows like a Lord of the Rings type quest fantasy, where you've got a group of people having to travel across country in order to fulfill a quest. There's a great Gandalf-like character, and in fact, some people actually criticize the Sword of Shannara because it's a little too Lord of the Rings. However, I believe the Elfstones of Shannara is a little bit different. It veers off on its own, and to be very honest, I absolutely adore the Sword of Shannara anyway. I love epic fantasies. I don't care they're similar to something else I love, particularly, Lord of the Rings. I adore Lord of the Rings. I could read that in many different styles. So yeah, looking forward to this. I've been wanting to read this for so long and I don't know why I keep putting it off. It's just Gathering Dust, and it's just like a gorgeous hardcover omnibus. Roll number 3 is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Bookworm Game. I love the Bookworm Game. It's really fun. The prompts are really obscure. So let's see what I get. And this is the Bookworm Game. So this is a dice game by Michael Palm and Lucas Zach. And I love the prompts on this because it's got these cool cards that have 3 different prompts. Now these prompts are meant to be used as a word game, but I love them as book prompts as well. And so you've got 3, and what I do is I'll throw a dice, and if I throw a 1 or 2, I have to pick the first prompt. If I throw a 3 or 4, I have to pick the second prompt. And if I throw a 5 or 6, I pick the third prompt. And as you can see, the prompts are very, very specific. So a day as a magician, that would be kind of cool. So I could pick a book that features magic in some way. Cities in Africa could be a book that's set in a city in Africa. Things for climbing could be any equipment used for climbing, or could be a mountain, could be anything. I can be creative with them. All right, so I'm going to shuffle the cards and really hope I get a really fun one. Really fun one. I've had some crazy ones, and the last one I had was a day as an ant, which was pretty hard. If I pull that card again, I shall reshuffle. So just letting you know. Ooh, so I've got a day as Batman, things on a graveyard, or excuses for forgotten birthdays. Wow, that's kind of cool. I'm kind of hoping for the first 2, because I actually think that could be kind of fun. Second one would be really fun, but let's see what I get. Throw 5. Great. Excuses for forgotten birthdays. Wow. I'm not sure what I'm going to pick for this. I'm going to have to trawl through my TBR basically and see how I can possibly link one of my books to this prompt. Good old bookworm game. Yes, I do love a bookworm game. And this one was excuses for forgotten birthdays. This was tricky. Like, it's really hard. However, I think I found one that works. It sort of fills a prompt. And that is Snow Crash by Neil Stephenson. Because, like, if you were in a snow crash, you'd be excused, right? For forgetting a birthday. I reckon it's a good enough excuse to forget someone's birthday. And you know what? This sounds like a really cool book. I've wanted to read it for some time. It is a sci-fi standalone that has the metaverse in it. So this is a home to avatars, software demons, where anything, just about anything goes. And so newly available on the streets, you have the metaverse's main drag is Snow Crash, which is a cyber drug that reduces avatars in the digital world to dust and infects users in real life, leading them in a vegetative state. And so this follows a freelance hacker and the metaverse's best sword fighter. And I believe that this is actually quite funny in parts. It sounds pretty cool. It's a modern classic, I think. So I'm looking forward to getting to this one. Roll number 4 is an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is titles and prose. And let's grab that one. Female protagonist. Interesting. That should be fairly straightforward to find. Female protagonist. That should be fun. I am going to go with The Cloisters by Katie Hayes. And this is described as the secret history meets ninth house in a sinister atmospheric novel. The discovery of a mysterious deck of tarot cards lays bare shocking secrets within a close-knit circle of researchers at New York's famed Met Cloisters Museum. So I'm going to read this on my Kindle and I'm looking forward to it. It doesn't have great ratings on Goodreads. However, it just sounds really cool. So I'm kind of hoping I'm going to enjoy this, and it has been on my shelf for a few months. So may as well get to it. Roll number 5 is a 2, and it's a double again. 1, 2, gold, stats and authors, standalone. Excellent. That works perfectly for me. For standalone, I'm going to go with Recursion by Blake Crouch. I've only read one Blake Crouch book and I loved it. It was Dark Matter. It was one of my favorite books of the year. And so I'm really looking forward to reading more Blake Crouch. Now, this one is about a disease, an epidemic that spreads through no known means, driving its victims mad with memories of a life they never lived. But it's no pathogen, it's just the first shockwave unleashed by a stunning discovery, and what's in jeopardy is not just our minds. So it follows Detective Barry Sutton in New York City, who's closing in on the truth, and in a remote laboratory, neuroscientist Helena Smith is unaware that she alone holds the key to this mystery and the tools for fighting back. This is going to be a fun read, I reckon, and I almost predict this is going to be probably my favorite of the month. Who knows? Who knows? I do like Blake Crouch. Roll number 6 is a 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's genres, settings, and tropes. And let's see what I get. Features space. Interesting. That's kind of cool. So that could be a sci-fi, or it could be anything to do with space. It could be a non-fiction book about space. I'll see what I decide to pick. Feature space, always fun. I do like my science fiction novels. And so for this, I'm going to go with For We Are Many, which is the second book in the Bobiverse series by Dennis Taylor. Now, the first book pretty much follows this man who decided to pay to have his brain cryogenically preserved in the event of his death. However, he is killed shortly after doing so, and then finds himself awake a long time after in the form of an AI. And it was pretty funny. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to be reading this one on my Kindle. However, I also have it on audiobook, so I can kind of dip between them depending on my schedule. The narrator is fabulous for the Bobiverse. So we'll see, we'll see. I'm not great at audiobook, but I can do it in little small spurts. Roll number 7 is a 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Blue again. All right, let's go with it. Let's pick a random one. Science fiction. Easy peasy, right? That should be straightforward. Another science fiction, right? Yeah, I do like science fiction. I'm kind of glad I've picked some other middle grade epic fantasies, etc. But for this one, I'm going to read a book that I was kind of hoping to get onto my October TBR, and it didn't quite happen. And that is Strange Beasts of China. This sounds really cool. It is a book in translation. And in the city of Yanghan, an amateur cryptozoologist is commissioned to uncover the stories of its fabled beasts. These creatures live alongside humans in near inconspicuousness, some with ancient forebears, others engineered as artificial breeds. Guided and often misguided by her elusive university professor and his scrappy student sidekick, our narrator finds herself on a mission to track down each species. This sounds really cool, and I kind of like reading books in translation because they give you just a slightly different perspective on things. Looking forward to this one. Roll number 8 is an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Read titles and prose. Series. Perfect. Gives me a chance to continue some of my series. Got heaps on the go. Of course, it could also give me a chance to start a new series. Am I tempted? Yes, very tempted. But let's see what I've got and see if I can set myself to complete a series instead. Series. This is great because I do need to keep going on series. Now, I could have picked a new series, but I'm not going to. I'm going to be brave and actually continue a series that I really enjoyed the first book of, and that is Servant of the Empire by Raymond Feist and Janie Wirtz. The first one, The Daughter of the Empire, was fabulous. And it followed Maya, who basically becomes the leader of her family when her brother and father are killed in war. And she's really young. She hasn't been prepared for ruling and for politics because she was meant to enter into convents, and therefore she's having to really learn on the job, and she's having to face all the political wheelings and dealings and really show herself to be strong enough to withstand any sort of physical or political attack. I adored that book. I loved the main character, and yes, we get to come back to Mara. I really liked Mara. And yes, it's a bit of a chunky one, but you know what? I'm really looking forward to it. And the writing is just so wonderful that I'm sure I'll fly through this one. Roll number 9 is an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And that is genres, settings, and tropes yet again. Spooky. I like. I haven't pulled this one before. So this could be a horror book. It could be a science fiction book that's a bit spooky. It could be anything like that at all. Let's see what I can find. Spooky. Yeah, a month late, but that's okay. I'm kind of looking forward to it. I don't read a lot of spooky books. I'm not a great fan of horror. And I've decided to go with Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I read Silvia Moreno Garcia earlier this year, and I absolutely adored it. And one of my aims for the rest of the year was to read at least one more of her books, because I have a feeling I'm going to really enjoy all of them. So this one is a Gothic fantasy set in 1950s Mexico. And when a glamorous socialite receives a frantic letter from her newlywed cousin begging to be rescued from a mysterious doom, it's clear something is desperately amiss. Catalina has always had a flair for the dramatic, but her claims that her husband is poisoning her and her visions of restless ghosts seems remarkable even for her. And then, of course, she rushes off to try and work out what's happening to her cousin. I'm going to read this on my Kindle. I'm expecting to really like it because I really like her writing. And hopefully the last roll, since I have no chance really of reading 10 books, I don't think, in November, because as I said, I've got a busy month. But you know what? I'm kind of happy though. There's going to be a lot of books to choose from. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bookworm game again. Well, that's pretty exciting. I don't think that's ever happened before. But I'm not angry. I'm not angry because I enjoy playing the bookworm game. The prompts are really cool, and I have to get really creative to come up with a book that fits the prompts on those. And we're doing the bookworm game again. All right. So I'm not going to explain it again because hopefully you remember what it's all about. But let's shuffle the cards again and see what I get. I'm hoping it's something a little bit easier than the last one because that was a bit tricky. Okay, so I've got things at an airport, something dangerous, and plants ending with the letter E. Oh my gosh. Gosh, I really hope I don't get the third one. I don't know how I would possibly make that work. But anyway, let's see. Please. 2. Things at the airport. Right. Interesting. So I guess this could be about airplanes. It could be, I guess, like restaurants, seats, people. Actually, this is quite broad. I could come up with quite a lot of things to this one. Let's see what I can find. And another bookworm game. This has never happened before. But anyway, I quite like bookworm game. I'm actually thinking that maybe early next year, I might just do 1 month of just bookworm game, choosing my books for the month. Let me know if that's something you'd be interested in, because it is kind of fun to try and find books that fit the prompts. This one was tricky. Things at the airport. Now, I guess I could have gone really simple and just gone with people or whatever, but I wanted to try and find something that you really pretty much only find at an airport, or at least is very reminiscent of an airport. And therefore, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, and I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. Now, I know this is like the crazy hype book of the year, and people love it or hate it. I am not a big fan of romance, so I'm not sure about a fantasy romance and how that's going to go for me. But I'm going to give it a go. Mainly, I mean, the cover's beautiful, right? And you know what? I just feel like I need to know what the hype is about. And then I can just decide to rule it out. Or I love it and continue the series. Who knows? But it should be interesting. And you know what? Wing. You can find wings on aeroplanes. So I think this kind of works. And I probably should read it this year just to kind of join the hype, right? And that's that. That is my November TBR. It's a little bit ambitious. I've got some real chunky books on there. But you know what? I've done really well in October, and therefore I actually think I can do reasonably well in November as well. And, you know, yeah, it's summer. I like reading in summer. And I've got a really good mix. I've got some sci-fi, romantasy, I have some epic fantasy, I have middle grade, I have a really nice mix, I think. I think I'm going to kind of enjoy this. Anyway, thank you for watching, and until I see you next time, take care.